It is not just Hamas that we are at war with, but the ideology that animates the Palestinian people. There may be a few people in there who don't agree with the ideology and can't get out. That doesn't matter. Until you destroy the ideology and the Palestinian people completely capitulate, completely renounce this ideology of murdering Jews, then they are the enemy. And the suffering that they're experiencing is their fault. Why? Because they breached the border in Gaza. They stepped over that border and decided to murder, rape, mutilate, and kidnap Jews. So when you're on the beach with your plastic tent over you and you're crying because it's raining and it's cold and you have no home, blame yourself. And if you aren't to blame because you actually hate Hamas, either fight Hamas or blame Hamas. Don't blame Israel for defending itself. They are the innocent ones here. We in the West have become rich and complacent enough to think empathy is good in and of itself. But like any feeling for someone, it has to be earned. Empathy for those who are suffering for something that is not their own fault. For example, the 1,200 human beings who were ruthlessly murdered in those kibbutzes. That is appropriate empathy. Empathy for the murderer is a perversion of justice. It's a perverse form of love. The people who are suffering in Gaza now have brought this upon themselves. Frankly, it should be worse. There shouldn't be a single IDF soldier dying over there. The fact that they're going through urban warfare, through miles and miles of tunnels to search out this vermin is extremely risky to them. It's a sacrifice of those soldiers. They should just have bombed them into submission. The moral difference between a person put in this position by the enemy is that they don't like or relish having to do what they have to do. Nobody who has a normal, non-pathological way of looking at the world enjoys hurting other people. But oftentimes, bad folks put you in the position that gives you no choice. In this conflict, we have a war of ideologies. We have a forward-looking, progressive, liberal ideology, leaving out the flaws of Israel because they're immaterial at this point. We know what Israel basically stands for: democracy, liberty, for the pillars of Western civilization, versus a medievalist, religiously fanatical, nationalistic ideology that holds violence as a means of acquiring values. There can be no compromise between those two. It's either one or the other. Because to compromise to the other gives you what we've seen since the beginning of Israel, which is never-ending violence. So you people who are calling for a ceasefire, remember that that's what you are calling for. Never-ending violence. That's what you will get. You have left civilization behind us, precisely what the Palestinian people did when they cheered on this mass murder that happened. You left civilization behind. You said, I don't want to negotiate anymore. Now the only way you can come to the negotiating table is when you unequivocally denounce your philosophy and never pursue it again in the future.